Hello, and this is a new module on classroom management. Classroom management is an age-old idea, well-researched, and there are a couple of factors that we need to keep in mind when we want to really have a well-managed class. It has actually created a renewed interest because it's even more difficult to manage the online classes. But the ideas remain the same, whether it's face-to-face teaching or online teaching. I like what Meehan says when he says that great classrooms are characterized by positive, open relationships, mutual respect. So he's talking about relationships, and which is what it is all about. Good relationships is good management. And also a shared responsibility of the learning process between the learners as well as the teachers. So there are these four factors universally applicable for classroom management, no matter whose research you read and what sites you go to. So what's said is it's a confluence of four major areas. The first and foremost being setting the right rules and making sure that the correct procedures are followed whenever you want them to do something or whatever they want to apply for. That's the first step. Now, regardless of how kind and flexible you are in the setting of the rules and how much you negotiate the framing of these rules for behavior, usually human beings do not like to live in the confines of any kind of rigidity, and so rules would be broken. Now, when the rules are broken, the disciplinary interventions that you might bring into force is what is the second factor. So that's something which is important, and we will also be dealing with this episode by episode. The third idea, which is a very well-known one, is what is the kind of relationship that needs to be maintained between the teacher and her taught. How flexible and cooperative can you get as a teacher? And where do you exercise control and dominance? Both are important to really get optimum learning done in your class. And that's the third factor, which is talked about in classroom management. And the last and the fourth one is about a very beautiful idea about what's the teacher's mindset. What kind of a mental makeup does she have when she enters the class? Does she go in with personal biases, prejudices, or is she able to maintain objectivity and a hope and a belief that all her students are capable of learning and learning well? So we would be taking each of these factors in at least 4 episodes, which are going to be dealing with this idea of classroom management. Today, we have the first one. The first one that we need to think about is, oh my God, so many rules, huh? Whether it is online, whether it is face-to-face, we're setting down the rules. So what is this idea about rules? It simply is referring to what is your stated expectation of student behavior. What do you want them to do? This should also apply to all the teachers, and stated expectations of behavior from teachers as well is something that needs to be in the rule book. So this is what rules mean. Procedures are variety of steps you need to take in following the rules. So this is a great idea that has been proposed by research, that rules and procedures shouldn't simply be imposed. You follow my way or you take the highway. That doesn't work. Okay? Human beings like to be explained the reason behind everything that they're expected to do or expected to follow. Look at the pandemic, social distancing, masking. We're doing it because we know the reasons behind why is the world asking us to do this. So even a simple thing, when I say, raise your hand if you want to ask a question, I have a reason for it. If you raise your hands, it gives me the opportunity to make sure that I'm looking at everybody, and it gives me the chance to practice equity so that every student gets a chance to answer. That was just an example. So the rule as well as the reason behind the rule needs to be stated. Second, as far as possible, ensure that you are able to negotiate the rules with the students. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Number one, teachers must clearly articulate the rules. They should be pasted everywhere in the school. And then you should also enforce the rules. All teachers enforce all the rules. So there is no gap about this teacher is more lenient than the other one. And nobody takes advantage of anybody in the school. When we say negotiate, what we are saying is that little bit of yours and little bit of mine, this is the rule I want you to follow. Are you agreeing? So we sit in conferences with students as young as kindergarten and ask them, listen, you're making a lot of noise. Can we talk about this? How would you like to really behave? You're skating and zipping around in the corridors. What would you like me to do? And when they say, I still need the smooth corridor to skate, you say, okay, let's negotiate the time. But when can you do it? And how can you be safe? So there are two thumb rules. One, always give the reason behind the rules. Human beings are reasonable. If explained nicely, kindly, that this is why I want you to follow this rule, it's for your own safety and for the safety and comfort of others, we're more likely to follow that. Second, as much as possible, negotiate the rules. Let me give you a fun example, about a reason. Boys might come up to you as they start hitting middle school that, can I grow hair and do a ponytail? I don't want to radically challenge your thought, but if you're going to say no to the boys to have a ponytail, you better have a good reason for that. Okay? If you're going to say no to a tattoo that a boy might want to do, you better have a good reason for why are you saying no. Negotiate. Buy them in. Build relationships for great classroom management. Okay? So when you're establishing rules, you should also be establishing relationships. This is the first factor of classroom management. We'll be bringing you many more. But for more stuff, do visit our Facebook page, subscribe to it, like, follow. You'll see a wealth of material, totally fantastic, coming to you from Shikshangan. Thank you for being with me.